Hi everyone. I thought I'd put together a really short video here about some of the issues that you may have yourself as an intern. I've had plenty of internships over the years, an absolute lorry load when I was doing my undergraduate degree, and a good few after that as well. So there are a few issues that I had over the years, which I'll share with you, and hopefully it's something you can relate to as well. So of the five I'll talk about, I'm going to speak about self-doubt to begin with. So my first internship was in basketball when I was 19. And I was very fortunate. It was a good level. It was very decent. It was national level basketball players. But on the flip side, it's quite daunting. I'd never played basketball at any sort of level in my life, and I wasn't even at uni either. So I was doing my 2 year college course at the time. So there were times where I did feel a little bit out of my depth from what I was doing. But I'd like to normalize that with you guys and say that just remember why you're there when you get your internships. Always tell yourself that you're doing a sports science degree, some form of sport degree, and you're there on merit. You're there because you're doing modules at university which relate to the internship that you're doing. And you want to get as much experience as possible. The first internship or the first couple can be quite daunting. It can feel somewhat uncomfortable, but you have to get yourself in that position to get over that feeling of awkwardness to then feel comfortable in the future. Secondly, as an intern, I've had experiences of being doubted, and this is something you might have as well. This pitch will make more sense in a minute when I tell you a little story about my own experiences. But firstly, for you guys, you may go into some form of internship where it could be quite an invasive procedure, such as blood pressure, taking blood, performing a VO2 max test, assisting, and things like that. And some clients, some athletes that you work with may be a little bit dubious about working with you. That's nothing personal. It's just the fact that you are inexperienced, you are new. If someone's going to take blood, you'd rather someone experienced do it. So this is very normal. Don't feel flattened by that in any way. This happened to me multiple occasions. One good example would be Leicester Tigers when I graduated from my undergraduate degree. It's my first gig. Um, and yeah, the first few weeks in pre-season, some players were a little bit unsure of me and weren't too keen on me spotting them in the gym. So you've got lads doing 140 kg bench press. Do they really want the 75 kg intern stood behind them? Do they trust that person, i.e., me, to get the weight off their chest if it's stuck there? Understandable. And luckily, it was only a small amount of people that felt that way, and it did change very, very quickly. But it's not something I ever took personally. And I'd say exactly the same to you as well. If you're in an environment where you're new, you're learning these skills, some people feel a little bit unsure of how good you are at that procedure, that's fine. It might take time, and people will come around after a while. When collectively everyone sees you doing a good job, some of those people will come back to you and put their trust in you. And to give yourself more confidence, to be more prepared, I would say go out there and get some experience with colleagues and friends before you do it on the athlete or the client that you're working with. So, for example, when I was taking blood in Germany during my PhD, I'd practice it first with some of the lads in the office. They're also doing a PhD as well. So I was nervous when I was practicing with them. I could make mistakes. I could have blood everywhere. It's my friend. We can laugh it off. You're obviously not going to laugh in that professional environment, but it's a good chance to get that exposure before you do it for real. The third one is really more related to sport. I don't think this is as much of an issue in some other environments, although it can be, but mainly in sport is banter. Um, I'm talking more about sort of verbal banter here. In some rare cases, you see some big shenanigans going on. I remember at one club, I saw one of the interns get chucked in the ice bath. At the same team, I remember one lad ran around the pitch fully naked, one of the interns. And this is very rare, by the way. I'm not trying to say it's going to happen every week and something you're going to see all the time, but I am focusing more here on the verbal banter. So I've been in environments where you're getting hammered for what you're wearing, your haircut, anything. It can be anything. People try and find a little bit of weakness and pick on that. And as an intern, that feels a little bit daunting. You feel you're being picked on, but really, no one's safe. Everyone gets that level of abuse at some stage. The key really is just to laugh it off. It is just verbals. It's just someone having a laugh with you. Um, you can't take it too seriously. People just testing the waters. And if anything, it can be a term of endearment as well. You're probably worried if no one's talking to you, if no one's kind of taking the mickey. I always took it that way personally, that they're just having a bit of a laugh with me. And in time, you give it back a bit as well. So you obviously don't want to be there day one hammering people as an intern or any member of staff. It's not a great first impression. But as time goes by, you get a bit more pally with people that you're working with in those environments. You give a bit of that stick back as well. And it just makes a really fun, interesting environment. So, penultimate one is making mistakes. I want to normalize that now and say to you that you are going to make mistakes, and I will repeat that over the next minute, 2 or 3 times. And just give an example of one of the many mistakes I made. I went into the kitchen one day, Leicester Tigers, and there were two water crates. One was full of fresh water, ready for the training session, just recently poured. One was old, sort of murky, dirty water that had been used about a week before in an academy game, which someone had just completely forgotten to take off the shelf. What do? I take the wrong one. I take the dirty water, didn't check it, give it to one of the players in training the first water break, spat out. Luckily, the player turned his head before he spat it straight in my face. Um, so I got lucky on that front, but it was a silly mistake. Something I never did again, as silly as that does sound. You always check the water, you check the little details of what you're doing. Um, but the point of this is mistakes will happen, no matter what level you're at. You make a mistake and think, how the hell have I done that? But you just got to laugh it off and go, look, these things happen. So my advice would be, as I've mentioned 2 or 3 times already, you're going to make a mistake, but the key is that you learn from it. I appreciate that was a really simple error there that I just gave you, but all these mistakes that you'll make on internships, maybe keep a log, keep a diary. What have you done well? What have you maybe done wrong? And how can you improve on that? So in reality, though, you've got to get yourself out there to make mistakes. I've been in environments where I tell my mates and they'll laugh, but yeah, it's funny, but you're out there. At least you're getting yourself out there and getting that experience. It's better to be out there making mistakes than not being there, not padding out your CV of good experience. So if you want to pause the video as well and look at the quotation on the right hand side by Samuel Beckett, my master's supervisor would always use this quote with me. He always encouraged me to go out there, try stuff. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Just keep going, keep plugging away, and keep gaining that experience. And don't ruminate too much about the mistakes that you make. Finally, you could argue this isn't really a problem. I think it can feel like a problem in the short term when you realize during your internship that this isn't really what you want to do for the rest of your life. It's very normal, and that's a good thing because in the long run, you'll realize, okay, there's something else out there for me, which is better. So apologies for the very weird dolls. I hope I don't freak you out too much, but this is my old primary school in Leicester. And when I was 19, I did a very short-term placement there in the PE department. So I was involved in all the PE classes, organising them, delivering them, that sort of thing. And very quickly, I realised I didn't want to do it. It wasn't for me. I didn't want to be a PE teacher. And that's panic stations at the time because you think, well, what else can I do? What else am I good at? What else could I do as a career? So in the short term, it might not feel great, but in the long run, you've got to get yourself out there, try different things, realize what is for you, maybe what's not for you as well. So these pathways can be a day visit to a physio. It could be a week shadowing a strength conditioning coach, shadowing your lecturer for 2 weeks, whatever it is that you feel you might be good at or might enjoy. Just in the short term, give it a go and see what you think about it. Okay, so I kept that short as possible. And really, as always, I promote discussion. So if you want me to expand on this one to one, if you want to drop me a message, you see the Instagram page there, Sports Science Hacks, and Twitter at CJ Thompson90. Give me a shout. Happy to share more of my experiences with you, some of the mistakes that I made. And if you've got any specific questions, do let me know. Okay, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you again soon.